My Agapanthus is blooming right now, and I thought I'd make a quick video about growing these things from seed. This seed was started about 13 months ago. The plant is now a good size and is flowering really well. So in this video, I'm going to tell you how I did that. So about a year ago, I got some seed through a seed exchange for some Agapanthus, both a blue one and a white one. And I used to grow Agapanthus, but for some reason one winter I lost them. I'm in zone 5 and these aren't hardy outside. So what I generally do is grow them in a pot outside, then leave them outside for quite a while. They actually get a bit of frost, but before we get a heavy frost, I bring them in. I put them in a fruit cellar with no light. It gets very cold down there, and they just stay there all winter long. The leaves are pretty ratty looking by spring, and most of the green has left out of them. They're more of a browny color, and I cut those off. I warm it up in early spring, and it starts to grow right away, and I take them outside and have another summer of beautiful Agapanthus. About 13 months ago, I got the seed from a seed exchange, and I started those seeds in my standard baggie method. And I use this for almost everything. Trees, shrubs, perennials, bulbs, you name it, they get started this way. And I have a video that shows you exactly how to do this, and I'll put a link to that at the end of this one. So I put the seeds in. I left them on my desk because Agapanthus seed germinates warm. They germinated pretty quickly, and so once I see the little root coming out, I take the seed out and pot them up. And what I like to do is to create a community pot. This is actually an example of a community pot of Jack-in-the-Pulpits, and there's at least a dozen plants in here. And so I put these under lights, I fertilize them right away, I let them grow until they start getting a little crowded. Seedlings of Agapanthus look just like the parents. They have these grass strappy leaves coming out, and they don't grow wide very quickly, so they can be left in here for a while. And I probably left them in here for 3 months or so. But I wanted good-sized plants, so at that point I was still inside under lights. I moved each individual plant into its own pot. And I find if I do that before the roots get too big, I get much better growth out of my seedling. Now here's an example of one of these seedlings. This isn't Agapanthus, this is an anemone. The seeds for these need a cold treatment. They've been in the fridge most of last year, and then somewhere around November they started germinating. So I pulled them out of there, put them in a community pot, and when they get larger I give them their own pot, and that's what I have here. So I did the same thing with the Agapanthus. Each plant got its own pot about this size. I kept it fertilized, kept it under lights. I tried to grow it really well. So now it's springtime. I took them outside, gave them lots of light, and then somewhere around late spring, I moved them into a larger pot, into these gallon-sized pots. And so they spent the summer like this outside. I even left them outside in the fall because I wanted to give them as much light and as long a growing season as I could. But before we had a heavy frost, I brought them inside and I kept them in the area where I have my lights. Now they weren't under lights. They were actually on the floor beside my lights, but that did give them some light and it kept the leaves green. At that point, I also cut back a lot on the watering because I didn't want these guys doing too much growing inside. I sort of wanted them hibernating, staying alive, staying green, but not really growing too much because I don't have the light space to put them under lights. I actually have about 2 dozen of these, and I want to flower them all because I want to see what the color of the flower looks like before I decide to keep 1 or 2 of the best ones. But I can't accommodate these under lights. I just don't have the space. So they're getting a bit of light. On the basement floor, it's kind of cool. I kept them kind of dry. And this is what happened. They started flowering. This other plant here is a little farther behind and its buds are just starting to develop. So this is a 1-year plant from seed and is already flowering. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep it where it is. Then in early spring, they'll go outside because, again, these guys can take a bit of frost, so I'm not too worried about putting them out too early. Give them lots of light, and hopefully it'll flower a second time. Now, as I mentioned, I have about 12 of these plants, and these are the only 2 that flowered. So the other 10 haven't flowered yet, but I do hope they'll flower this summer once they go outside. Anyways, growing Agapanthus from seed, really easy, and if you take care of the seedlings, you'll get big size flowering plants quite quickly. Give that a try. I've grown probably 2,000 different species of plants from seed, and I've made a number of videos to tell you exactly how to do it. And I'll put a link to my seed library at the end of this video. Enjoy growing things from seed.